Let me get this silent. And
Did you already push record?
I believe it did. Let me double check. It'd be really bad if it didn't. It's recording. Okay. I see the bars moving.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome back to our Quality Matters podcast. I'm your hostess, Darcy Chambers.
I'm Kyle Chambers.
And we're here with another guest. We always love to have guests on our podcast, Kevin Stange.
Yes.
I said it right?
Yes.
Woo, the first time.
Yes, perfect.
He's been in quality for 16 years,
16 plus years.
he tells us. And he came to be on our podcast because he made a post on LinkedIn that Kyle saw, was very interested in, and I did my job as the boss lady and got him on the podcast. So
you
here we
reached out
are.
to me and I happily responded.
Thank you.
Definitely.
So I think we're going to talk about API and kind of what they're doing to small businesses.
Yeah, I've been involved with, like you said, 16 plus years. I've been involved in quality. I actually have been around quality for a lot longer than that. When I was still in college, I cut my teeth under a British gentleman who exposed me to ISO my first time. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And it was a small chemical company. I learned a lot, but I saw the acronym, but I never really knew what it was, and it really didn't click until I got out of college. ISO. What is ISO? So then you start seeing all these things, and you're like, oh yeah, ISO, and I'm familiar with that, and I'm going back to, okay, let me McFly it right quick, get back to where I was. But anyways, I've dealt with ISO, I've dealt with API, it's been an adventure, to say the least.
I bet.
Implemented a lot of programs, met a lot of different people, been a lot of different places. The idea, that I see with a quality management system is, to not necessarily force instruction on a company, but it has to be interpreted properly, as a guideline for how you're doing your business, because it's a globally recognized standard. ISO, API, both of them. So it's not telling you how to do your business.
Right.
It's just kind of like, hey, if you're going to have a business, try to operate within these specs.
Yeah.
Just have a plan and follow it. That's what I
No, that's really it. That's really it. It's a roadmap,
Yeah.
If you're going to go somewhere, you got to know how to get there, right?
Yeah. They don't
just blindly
particularly
go down
care
the
what
road.
your plan is. Do something that works for your business, but just follow the plan that you have.
Yeah.
So I guess the conversation is that API's standards are now, or maybe always have been, very word for word and do it like this and not giving much freedom. And maybe they've always been stated like that, but there's been freedom and there's new guys coming in. What's going on?
Yeah, what I've seen from ISO and what I've seen from API is like a number of years ago that, they were parallel. Same thing, almost word for word,
Well, at one point the Q1 directly incorporated word for word from 9001.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It
Yeah.
was word for word. And then, what's the 8th edition was kind of the last year on that one.
Yeah, it
and
was.
Then they phased out from 2008, But what we saw was, and it was a lawsuit and everything involved in that, a lot of people, involved in that. And what we saw was, a complete separation.
Yeah.
We went from a parallel system for two different systems to a trust-based system and a more, heavily structured and more of a guiding or requiring system.
So saying ISO is more of the trust base,
Yeah.
and API is the one that's getting a little more strict.
And I had that conversation yesterday in a training we did actually up in this area. It can be very frustrating for folks to some degree, especially when they're new to quality and they're taking a look at the ISO 9001 standard and it's like, oh, there's 10,000 ways I can do it. Can you just tell me which one to do?
Yeah.
But once you've been in it for a little while, you understand the freedom there. But what else really, I guess, intrigued by is you had a post about some of that was specifically with the design stamps.
Yeah.
It's a little more prescriptive than the standards.
In the past, APIs provided kind of like an umbrella of freedom for a lot of companies to come in and be part of API and function with API and have opportunity in the oil and gas community. And not just your big service companies that tout these things, but the small mom and pop shops. I mean, everybody needs a chance, right? It's you know, it's a capitalist kind of program there.
Correct.
So you don't want to, you know, definitely API is never, what I've seen is never tried to exclude a lot of these companies. But here recently, you know, it's like, you know, they're taking everything, you know, literally and almost changing it up to fit, you know, I don't know, to more, you know, to more exclude, you know, these smaller companies. There's a company, you know, and I know a bunch of them that they're wanting to get into the business, or they are in the business. They have their engineering and design capabilities. You know, they just haven't made the financial investment for machinery or capabilities. You know, so what do they do?
Outsource it.
Yeah, they outsource it.
Yeah,
And what's the premise behind ISO? What's the premise behind API? It's supplier management, right? What's wrong with that? You know, there's tons of machine shops out there that have the capability to do whatever
And
they
they can
need.
do it better than you could.
Oh, yeah.
With a large
Okay, so I
investment.
think you were, Kyle, saying something about, so is API now not letting them outsource?
Well, it's kind of a fine line, and you know, they're really not even giving me clarity on that, because in the past you could, as long as you did like 3 things, you know, in accordance with your certification, is what you design, you know, you have to design, but you know, you inspect, you know, is a major activity, you assemble and you test.
Yeah.
You know, a requirement as actually having to machine something, you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, I don't have, you know, that capability.
Right.
You know, but I'm sending it out. I just,
Yeah.
Well,
So the requirement to machine something has always been there, but you've had the freedom to outsource it, and now they're kind of cracking down.
Yeah,
saying
well,
you've got to do it in-house.
I think it's more than cracking down. They're putting a foot on you, you know, because what's happened is, like I have a customer that I've been working with for a number of years, and they're a manufacturing company. You know, they make their own, you know, equipment.
Right.
But they haven't invested in the internal capabilities to machine in-house under that roof. Why? Because it doesn't benefit them, especially when a umbrella organization like them, you know, has a sister partner company that is a precision machine shop. You know, that does, you know, a lot of work for major companies like GM or Harley Davidson or, you know, whoever. You know, so this precision machine shop
They
kind
can
of
have
does.
tighter controls, better turnarounds, more experienced people, everything.
They go to the next level.
Yep.
They don't just machine. They verify CMMs.
Yep.
You know, it's degree of accuracy is so much, you know, more, so much greater.
Yeah.
So what I've seen is that they've been outsourcing, and you know, this company is not based in Texas. First off, they're a little north, you know. And what I see is a lot of those northern companies up there, you know, the climate is different up there than it is down here.
Yeah.
So these people are very concentrated on their work, and they're very dedicated to their work. And this group, man, I've worked with them for a long time. They're very dedicated to their jobs, and they come out with some excellent products, by the way. I mean, you can go out to any well pad out there where they're doing some workover stuff, or you know, some fracking in like Midland or New Mexico, or you know, Wyoming for that matter. I think even overseas is now they've hit that market, and you see their stuff. But anyways, they you know, they have it machined internally. So you know, they went through an API audit, and API came back in and said, well, you know, you guys did good. You know, your documentation's good. You know, you did good in the audit, but these products right here, we're going to consider one-off manufactured pieces.
And what does that mean?
It's not really clear. I mean, they haven't been clear at all. But basically what I get from them is that because they're considering like a not complex, like, are you familiar with that, like API 6A equipment or 16A, 16C equipment, stuff like that, you know? And it's even like 7.1, 7.2 stuff, 17D, you know, but it's just like, say, one fixture. That is made out of one piece of raw material.
Right.
Okay? that, you know, they can fixture it up,
Mhm.
cut it, turn it, mill it, whatever. They don't have to inlay anything. That's kind of their idea for one-piece manufactured. You know?
That's just silly. I mean, I don't know
It
if
is.
it works,
It
but
is.
it's
It's very,
silly.
you know,
Because they have a design standard for that.
exactly. And they have supplier management just for that.
Yes.
You know.
That's so silly.
And they're
So
not.
I
even-
don't understand, y'all are all laughing about this. I don't understand the significance of a one-off or making this so simple. What does that mean for the company?
I asked the same question, you know,
Okay.
and they're really, you know, well, it's because, you know, it's not complex or it's all one piece machined, and if you don't have the capability to machine that one piece in-house or that non-complex piece of equipment, then you really can't consider yourself a 6A or 16A or 16C,
So will they not be
17E shop.
given the API certification because
No,
of those
they
pieces?
literally, you know, went through everything and maintained everything very well and had
Yeah.
good stuff, and, you know, they had very good inspection practices,
Really?
manufacturing practices, and then, you know, during the audit, API, you know, the review period, API
Mhm.
came back in and said, oh, by the way, you know, we consider this to be a one-piece manufactured item, and, you know, you guys, since y'all aren't machining it in-house, you know, we're not
Wow.
gonna give you your certification.
Wow.
And they've had certification, they've had Q1, you know, they very
Yeah.
much demonstrated, they
On the
have.
same items.
Oh, yes, you know, that API's been in there before on multiple
Mhm.
occasions, audited
That's
them,
crazy.
reviewed their facility, reviewed their design files, very good design files, you know.
No, I won't lie. There's a huge benefit to being able to do things in house. You know, my old company, we dealt with heat treating all the time, right? And so, you know, there's some benefits sending it to some heat treat outfits. There's some really fantastic ones out there, but you know, you can really trim back that turn time, and you know, if you've got like a really awesome engineer on it, you can maintain control of quality. But you're talking about millions and millions and years of investment to bring those operations in-house.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a barrier for anyone new to ever enter.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like API now coming in and saying, because you don't have this stuff, you can't be with us, or you
Wow.
can't even consider yourself.
But it's what you're talking about is something that doesn't even require all of that.
No, and you know, it doesn't. I mean, and it's hard for me to understand that they can have one product
Mhm.
that another product that they don't machine in house, right? That is kind of considered not one off, and it's outsourced.
Now,
You know, but
so what caused this? Obviously, it's a shift.
yeah.
So, do you have any bearings on what caused the shift in the?
I think it's a huge lack and change in personnel. I mean, I've seen this huge drift of people from API out of API.
Okay.
And then I've seen this whole new influx of API into API. You know, it's like
So, folks that
Wow.
maybe have no experience or business auditing.
lack of
Yeah.
interpretation. You know, real world experience, understanding of the products. You know, stuff like that. You know, I think in the past you've had all these really smart guys in there, and there's still a few kind of sprinkled
Right.
throughout there, but some of these other guys that have been in there, you know, I think recently kind of passed on, or you know, they've gone into other things, and they may still do things with API, but then now they don't really have that oversight,
Mhm.
and they don't have that discussion,
Yeah.
and they don't have that interpretation aspect in API anymore that really makes it acceptable
Right.
to be part of API, and it's almost an exclusion, and that's pretty sad, you know,
Yeah.
because you're going to cost a lot of people a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle and I were talking on the way over here, and I was asking why would API do that? Because they're just
I
losing
don't think
money.
they realize it.
But that's what it sounds like. They
Yeah.
don't realize that these
Wow.
new auditors are coming in and just being so literal
Yeah.
with the standard
Yeah.
and taking away companies' freedoms.
You've got a better beat on this end of the industry than I do. Like, what would have caused all of the old auditors to start flying out?
I have my speculation, but I really won't go into a whole lot of that. But you know, within any organization, whether it's a government or you know private, you
Right.
know industry specific, doesn't matter. There's a whole lot of political
Mhm.
struggle and stuff like that, and I think maybe some of that played into
Gotcha.
it. And I think there was also some struggle with growth, because I do know that
It makes sense. I mean, the industry has just exploded over the
Yeah.
last few years.
And I think API's really limited themselves on what they're doing, because a lot of their independent auditors they're not even really API auditors. They're consultant auditors, which is another thing too that really blows my mind, because I see all these great people that are just good, very smart. They're good with interpretation. They don't get into an audit in there with you and then like point at you and then ridicule you or break you down because you're not doing something.
Right.
These are the type of people that will look at a situation and say, you know what, you're not quite doing it how I would interpret that, but let's look at how you are doing it, right, and then let's maybe improve upon that to get you more right.
Exactly.
Right.
Those people are kind of falling away.
So they more have the gotcha guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That.
There's now, don't get me wrong, there's some riffraffs in the past that you would see kind of throughout that really, I don't know.
Common now.
Yeah. Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I'm thinking of a company recently that we worked with that had an API monogram and then got re-audited, and same thing, they just didn't understand. They were like, last year, I think didn't even, the previous auditor didn't even mention any of this stuff.
No,
it was
like
just such
brand
a
new
struggle.
problems that made no sense came up.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sitting here a little dumbfounded, and it's not anything that I don't think they couldn't have overcome, but it's stuff that they have never been questioned on before, and it was so odd. It was just such odd, silly questions that the auditor was asking.
Oh man,
and I
got
just couldn't
one
even get my
right
head
there.
around it.
I seriously, I was taken back 100%, because, this company, I've been involved with them for a number of years, since I think you go back to 2014 with this one particular group, and, I was operating from a corporate level with them and providing guidance, and, I trained up their original quality manager, and I've been working with their current quality manager, kind of bringing them up, and anytime they need something, I'm sure, what do you got,
Yeah.
I was involved in this audit from a corporate level, just kind of providing, oversight, because I had a guy here just kind of new to the position, kind of insecure, maybe a little bit, never been through it,
Just gotta have his back when he needs it.
Oh, he thinks he's going to be held up by gunpoint or something like that. It's like, I was like, no, man, it's not that bad. Don't get worried about it.
That's the first audit.
And definitely, and sometimes the second, you just have to give it some time. But I'm participating in this audit, and of course, from a corporate level, I did the internal audit.
Right.
For them, because I'm not managing the system.
Yep.
Right.
I provide guidance.
Yep.
And it was a 6A audit, and I've been involved with 6A for I don't know, man, going back to like 2010. 11, and so I think I feel confident. I've had a number of years. As a matter of fact, I got a couple of customers right now that are API, pursuing 6A, 16A, and 16C certification. So I'm going through, and she starts going through the internal audit, and no problems. And then just the last question was, I need to see your credentials. So I'm giving her my auditor certs and stuff like that, or he's providing. What he had on file for me. And then, well, where's your certificate for your 6A certification? And I said, well, I don't have an individual certificate for 6A certification. I have Q1 certification for doing an internal audit. Right. And I have a number of years experience with 6A, but I mean, that's my,
And that's what just about anyone is going to have.
Yeah.
At best.
Well, there's no specific 6A auditing certification for API.
No, you would have to have experience as previously been an API auditor.
And I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to create a problem. So I just kind of like, I'll get you like a letter or something from somebody, or we'll get some email. Look at my LinkedIn. I'll give you my resume. Kind of look at that. And they were like, oh well, if you can get a letter, that's fine. But it goes back to this thing, that we were talking about, where it's a lack of understanding and interpretation.
They just don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. The new auditors just don't know.
I've had a somewhat similar, because we deal mostly with different ISO certs. So I've had the same thing with different ISO certs, especially like when 45001 first came out,
Oh my
and they're like,
God.
well, we need to see a certificate for that. And I'm like, there's probably 10 people in the world
I
right
got
now
still
that have that
people,
cert.
I still have people throwing out 14,001, 18,001, you know, and now it's like, okay, no, it's actually changed a little bit. You know? So even ISO has its drawbacks from communication
Yeah.
of changes.
But
It's
just
the
as
same
they-
problems
It is.
all over the industry.
Yeah.
That's just, but that makes sense. If these are new and green auditors, that these are the kind of type things they're going to do, especially if they have, like you said, real world experience. They've not actually lived
Makes
it
a
and
huge
breathed it.
difference.
Yeah,
Because what folks don't realize is that auditor that's certifying you, he doesn't do that generally 5 days a week. That's
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times a month, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe. And
Well,
then he's got his own
and-
job outside of it.
And to make it more relatable, because I've said several times on this podcast, my background is education, and same thing, you're in the classroom.
which is one of the
Teaching.
most underrated, undervalued industries. And my wife is a teacher,
Yeah.
Okay.
you know, and I tell her that.
It's the same thing. You've got people in
Yeah.
admin and politics making all these laws and rules for what you're going to do in the classroom
Yeah,
that aren't there or haven't been there
No.
there in years, and you just don't know.
You
But
don't know.
we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. We
no, I
your
appreciate
time.
it, definitely.
Appreciate it.
You know, look forward to any other times that you guys, want to get together and
Oh, yeah.
discuss.
No, this is.
I think we've opened up Pandora's box, and I'd like to keep opening
We've opened it up with ISO
Yeah.
and Chris Paris,
Yep.
so now we'll do it
We'll
with
definitely have to get you back on.
Yeah,
'cause
certainly.
Different topic, bring you up, because this is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
All right.
Lot of
yeah,
fun.
definitely.
All right.
It creates awareness too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Turn it off before we start talking bad.